Hey guys, today we're going to talk about how to create an ASP.NET web page with code behind. Last time we talked about how to create an ASPX page and use some built-in controls of ASP.NET, but we never did code behind for that page. So today what we're doing is we're using the controls that we created in the ASPX page, and we're using those controls, the values of them, we're passing those values into objects and the code behind, basically. Um, we're going to do an email us page. The reason why we're doing that is we also want to get familiar with some built-in functionalities of ASP.NET. We're going to use a namespace which is called system.web.mail. This namespace has a class which is called message, and we're going to use this message class. We're going to instantiate this class, and we're going to use the properties of the class uh, for passing inputs from the front end or from the ASPX page, which is basically the front end because the code behind is what actually happens on the server, and that's usually considered back end in most cases, but not necessarily. Here, so let's go ahead and start Visual Studio and click on our project. We're gonna click on our project, which is main website. Okay, so Visual Studio is coming up. Let's close these two files and close the Team Explorer here and go to our solution. Okay, so we see our solution here, ICG website. That's what we created last time. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new page. I'm going to call this page email. We already have an email us page that I created here before, which is basically the same thing that we're going to show in this tutorial, but we're going to create it from scratch. So go ahead and right click on ICG website and add new item, and we go ahead and choose a web form using master page. And the reason for this is, as I explained before, usually in an ASP.NET Web Forms application, we use our master page to have our content placeholders there. So we go ahead and create this, click Add, and it's going to ask you what master page to use, which is site.master, the master page that we've already created. Go ahead and click OK. And this is your webform1.aspx page, what we just created. So we're going to go ahead and rename this. So as you can see, it's here. We're going to right click on it, we're going to rename it, and we're going to call it email.aspx. Now email.aspx is here, and you see the C# code behind is automatically changed. So that's email.aspx. The content placeholder is head content for the head content placeholder and the main content for the main content placeholder. And this is where we're going to go ahead and put some of our controls here. Now, the way I usually do this is I do tables with table row and table data for forms. Email us is a form which has first name, last name, the email and the contact information, probably a text area for the body of the email, and a button at the end, at the bottom of the page. So we have first name as a label, then last name as a label, and in front of each label we have our text fields for inputs. So the best idea for simplicity here would be to have a table and just to put these labels and input areas in the table data of a table. For that purpose, we're going to go ahead and create this table, and we have a couple of options here. We can either use an ASPX table or just a traditional HTML table. Then again, for simplicity here, I'm going to go ahead and create a HTML table in our main content. So table. Now in this table, we're going to have some table rows, and like I said, in each table row, we're going to have a couple of table data. So table row here, another table row, and table row, and table row. Now in these table rows, we're going to have two table data, one for label and the other one for the input field. So just kind of like give some space so we can put our table data here. Table data, table data, and you can kind of like basically just copy and paste each table row. Alright. Now this is when we put in first table data, we're going to put our name field, which is, let's say, first name. Here for first name, so obviously we need to have an input column, and we call this, we need to give it an ID, and also the best option here, the best control to use would be just a text box. So we're going to say ASPX or ASP text. We need to give this an ID so we can use the code behind. So ID would be, let's say, first name. Now we need to give this, we need to tell the system if this is going to be run at server, and it is, because we need to access this in code behind. So any control that need to be accessed in the code behind, we need to have it set as run at server. So the run at is going to be server. So we have an ID for this text box. We have the attribute of run at server. What else do we need here? That's pretty much it. So we can just go ahead and close this tag. Okay. Same thing here. So this is for our first row of the table. The second row, let's say it's going to be for last name. Last name. And here again, we need to have a text box. ASPX text box. So we can just go ahead and copy this and just change the ID, what we have on the top, from first name to last name. So this, I will change this to last name. class name, and everything is pretty much the same. Now, to save time for simplicity, I've already done this here, and I saved it in a text file. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and copy that and paste it here. It's basically just creating new fields and giving IDs to those fields. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this whole entire thing that I've already done here. I kind of explain it after I copy this. So let's copy it and just paste that here. Okay, so I have two new lines here, and I put a text here just as a heading of the page on the top of the email page, and then I have my table data, my text box. For last name, the same thing. For company name is the same. Address 1, address 2, city, state, postal code, email, retype, email, phone number, message. If you look at message here, it's a text. Well, it's a text box, but the height and the width properties are set so that way it looks like a text area. So they can put, and the mode is multi-line, so they can go ahead and put multiple lines. And then I have a button here. Okay, now I put a button here because when they finish filling out the form, when they click on that button, that's when the email is supposed to get sent. So on click of the button, I set a function which is called send click, and this function is an event handler. It handles the